For the opening clash at the Sydney Sports Ground, Gibson made some surprising selections, relegating grand final heroes Mark Harris and Johnny Mays to the reserves and throwing young Ian Schubert into the centres and Trevor Barnes into halfback. The Tigers showed us right away that we'd get our opponent's best shot every game that season. Everyone wanted the scalp of the defending premiers. Balmain's defence forced a lot of uncharacteristic errors. And after Keith Outen knocked the ball loose from yours truly, Alan McMahon scored for Balmain. That woke us up and I scored before new boy Ian Schubert pounced on a Johnny Pearce special before Bruce Pickett's late try gave us a 15-12 win. Mark Harris and Johnny Mays were back when we travelled to Cogra in round 2, but again, we started slowly. It had been 13 premiership matches since we'd last lost a competition game. Round 9, 1974 against the Dragons at Cogra. It was an omen. Barry Beath and Lindsay Drake combined to put Lord Ted over and Saints led 5-0 at half-time when a torrential downpour and howling winds almost had the game called off. Artie and Jack Gibson were all for cancelling, but St George Secretary Frank Facer demanded that the game should be continued despite the conditions. The final decision rested with referee Laurie Brewers. He said play, so that's what we did. Saint skipper Chenga Langlands admitted after the game that he was in two minds until Facer stepped in, but there was no indecision when he chased Billy Smith's bomb. Down by 8 points in those conditions, we had to be the next to score, and a Mark Harris crash tackle provided the opportunity for John Brass. But the soggy leather ball made conversions hard to come by, and the match degenerated into a slogging battle. With 30 scrums and 18 penalties, mostly favouring the Dragons, we struggled to get out of our own half. Our defence kept us in with a chance, but weight of penalties and possession finally told when big Henry Tartner slipped the ball to Teddy Goodwin. The way Saints players celebrated their win was another reminder of how much our rivals wanted to knock off the premiers. Watching Chang's unsuccessful conversion attempt, many of us were already thinking about exacting some revenge, even though we all had to wait a couple of months for the return match. After the drenching at Cogra, it was a relief to get back to the fine weather and the SCG, the scene of our grand final triumph, but it was another slow start for us. Whatever our problem was, Cronulla was happy to add to it, with Kevin Gibson strolling over and our goal line defence looking disinterested. Steve Rogers was a late inclusion for the Sharks, and his goal kicking added to our problems. When Fred Dennehy scored easily from a scrum right on our line, the Sharks took a 10-4 lead to the break, and our fans showed their frustration with some slow hand clapping. With Big Artie leading the way, we started the second half on fire. Maybe Jack Gibson's halftime message provided the spark. Ronnie Coote got us right back into the contest, and a typical Johnny Mays burst and an offload set the stage for Artie to wind up and level the scores. Ian Schubert's careless shot on Paul Taylor gave Steve Rogers a chance to regain the lead for Cronulla. A penalty and a well-rehearsed tap move, and Mark Harris was on his way. With Cronulla's defence scrambling back onside, Artie picked out Ian Schubert lurking centre field. In only his third game in the big time, Shuey broke Steve Rogers' tackle to redeem himself and regain the lead. But the Sharks weren't finished and put on a set play of their own, with Graham Sams and Dennehy putting Greg Pearce under the post. Then Greg Hartley came up with a Hollywood special, penalising us in possession right in front. Artie put our case, but we lost the argument and the game. After the match, Cronulla coach Johnny Raper said, "I reckon that was as good a performance as East were capable of, but we can improve even more." If that wasn't going to inspire us after our first back-to-back losses since 1973, nothing would. And we needed a lift to face competition leaders Manly at Brookvale. Another loss here, and we will be giving the leading pack an almighty start.
Peared, a long pass out to Coote, who half volleys it. Oh, he's right through. Oh, he's given the defence the slip. A good try. Oh, bad defence from Manly. Good running by Coote, but bad defence. They had their hands on him. That's the first try of the match. Eastern Suburbs 5, Manly 4. And there's the scorer, Ron Coote. Beatson on the burst. Oh, a beautiful pass from Beatson. Away out to Stevens. Inside to Walters. Walters drops it behind him. It goes to Riley, who's having a good game too. Barber will be cautioned. No, he won't. The referee says play on. Peared elects to kick. Goes straight to Eadie. Eadie runs round. Harris, no, he's lost the ball. It's picked up by John Brass. The pass goes to Schubert, and Schubert's in for the try. Oh, good football by Eastern Suburbs. They're capitalising on all the errors. Young Schubert in for the try. An error by Eadie. Lost the ball on the tackle. And East go away. 8 points to 4. Coote goes the blind side. On to Beatson. Lovely pass out to Harris. Harris is through. He should score. It's a try. It's a good try. Bad defence from Manly again. Eastern Suburbs rubbing their nose in it at the moment. 13 points to 4. The scrums are 8 to 5 in favour of Eastern Suburbs. Beatson holds his pass up, gets it away to Schubert. Schubert looks for support. Got it on to Stevens. Stevens galloping away. Got it inside to Harris. Harris is steaming through. Looks for support in the shape of Mays. Mays coming on with a good run. Eadie takes him on the halfway line. Eastern Suburbs firing. Coote. And the sixth tackle. Manly, some of the Manly players are walking at the moment. Peared. There's an overlap here. Stevens. Away to Brass. A long floating pass back inside to Fairfax. Got it on to Mays. And Mays is in for the try underneath the post. They've cut Manly to ribbons. And that's the try of the match. Unless we see something spectacular. Manly. Juni. Fryer. On a low. Not as fast as usual. Put it to Fulton. And Fulton over between the posts. Well, that seemed to come from nowhere. That try came from nowhere. 15 points, 20 points to 9. With an easy conversion attempt to follow. Coote's done a power of work, scored a good try. Really hanging over the line. I don't think anyone could have done more for their team than Ron Coote has done today. It's been a wholehearted display, great defence, scored a good try. Juni, on to low, back to Juni, can't get the pass away.
Jack Gibson wasn't happy that we let Manly in for a couple of late tries, but the 22-16 win got our total defence back on track. The relief from our form turnaround against Manly was short-lived. Back at the SCG to face West in the match of the day, and it was deja vu all over again with yet another slow start. John Dorahy showed why he's called Joe Cool, and we were down by 5. But we were determined not to let the Magpies get away from us. Another tap move from Jack Gibson's bag of tricks, and Johnny Mays did the rest. The conversion from John Brass, and we were all square again. The inclusion of Kevin "Stumpy" Stevens gave our attack some extra dimension, and Johnny Mays had the speed to capitalise on any half break. Jack Gibson had thrown Dennis Tuddy in as a lightweight prop, but along with the rest of our forwards, he helped lay the platform down the middle, opening up opportunities for our outside backs, and Mark Harris never needed more than half a chance to go all the way. The Magpies stayed in touch through penalty goals to Doherty, but when Johnny Mays notched his hat-trick, the result was beyond doubt. West reminded us that you can never relax with a clever short kick-off, an athletic leap by Russell Mullins, and some great backing up, giving Stephen Knight a consolation try and Joe Cool his 5th goal. With the same scoreline 2 weeks in a row, we were up to equal 5th on the competition table. Penrith were only 2 points behind us, and a trip out to the foot of the mountains was just as dangerous to your premiership hopes then as it is today. English international Mike Stevenson had taken over as captain coach after 2 years at Penrith, and his skill with the ball set the platform for their attack. With referee Greg Hartley blowing the P out of the whistle with 29 penalties, it was hard for either side to gain attacking cohesion. With Stevo sending his runners through holes, it took some classic Ron Coote cover defence to hold the Panthers out. Unlucky for the locals, but fortunate for us, the clever hooker was injured and unable to finish the game, and we ran out winners 25-12 with a couple of late tries. A couple of pinpoint Johnny Peard bombs fell into my arms to give us a great start to the eagerly anticipated rematch with our grand final opponents Canterbury in the match of the day at the SCG. But just like the Bulldogs of today, the team known as the Berries in '75 just needed one mistake to invite themselves back into the contest. Mark Hughes sending Don Mosley racing for the corner. Then Graham Hughes got into the act with a blindside switch, and Chris Anderson had narrowed our lead to just 4. Luckily, both tries were scored out wide, and Hazem El Masri hadn't been born yet. All the time we spent practicing tap moves at training was just for these situations, and they usually paid off. But Canterbury have always been a tough nut to crack, and their last-ditch tackling kept us out when we looked certain to score. Against a fast-moving and committed defence, you have to keep the ball alive, probe, back up, and be ready to switch the attack out wide as soon as you draw the defence in-field. It helps to have a 100-kilo centre like Mark Harris, who takes off like a runaway train, and you finally get a break. In the second half, our ability to keep the ball alive finally began to take its toll on Canterbury. This movement, resulting in a try to Ron Coote, shows just how committed we were to keeping the ball alive, backing each other up, and probing for the eventual gap. By the time Bill Mullins finished off this classic backline raid, Canterbury were out on their feet and we'd climbed to second on the table. South and East have been rivals since 1908, but that rivalry took on some added spice when some of the Rabbitohs' favourite sons, Mike Cleary, Ron Coote and Elwyn Walters, switched to the Roosters in the early 70s. Hooker Walters was the most recent in 1974, but it was the defection of Coote in 72 that had hurt South fans the most, and this round 8 match of the day at a packed Redford Oval rubbed even more salt into that open wound. South threw everything at us in attack and defence, but through it all, Coote was the epitome of his nickname. Solid in attack and defence, with Walters not far behind. This break by Greg Purcell could have resulted in a South try and might have cost us 2 vital points. But Coote's desperate chase herded Purcell to the sideline, giving me a clear shot at him. With the score locked at 2-2 and neither side looking like conceding a try, South's evergreen fullback Eric Sims turned back the clock to the 1960s with 2 field goals to give South a 4-2 lead with time running out. A rare scrum penalty from referee Laurie Bruyers gave us one last chance to pull the game out of the fire. With no angle to work with, John Brass got us some vital metres and a tap kick just inside South's half. At the end of such a gruelling game, it wasn't the time for any complicated moves, and Elwyn Walters did exactly what was necessary to draw some tired South forwards in, so Johnny Mays could use his speed. With Artie's clever offload, I just had to catch and pass for Ron Coote to break the hearts of his former fans and turn the Roosters-Rabbitohs rivalry into a feud that still burns strongly today. We went to Cumberland Oval to face the Eels with 8 players backing up from the City Country games the day before. Parramatta were missing 6 of their regular first graders, but they still had the most important one, hooker John McMartin, who won the scrums 20-7, allowing Parramatta to throw the ball around with total disregard for possession. The result was a game that flowed from end to end, while the Rabbit Eels fans screamed for our blood. Ian Schubert's long run gave us a rare opportunity inside the Eels' quarter, and Stumpy Stevens made sure it wasn't wasted with Ron Coote steaming onto the ball. John Brass and Johnny Pearce split the goal-kicking duties, both landing 2. Parramatta's Queensland import, Ray Higgs, scored both the Eels' tries and demonstrated in the process how he earned the name Bulldog, driving relentlessly for a home win. Keith Campbell and Jeff Gerard landed 3 goals between them to keep the pressure on. But when I found Shuey in support after a break from halfway, the desperate Higgs couldn't stop him from crossing. John Brass converted and Dennis Tuddy scored a late intercept try to wrap up our 6th win on the trot and a share of top spot on the ladder with Manly. After rushing to a lead of 14-0 in the first 24 minutes, we cruised to a relatively easy 22-8 win over Norths at home in round 10. But our trip to Henson Park the next week was anything but cruisy with some close calls. We were without Big Artie, Kevin Stevens and Ken Jones, who were all injured, and Ron Coote, who was in Brisbane with the New South Wales team. It was a typical rugged Roosters Blue Bags battle, with plenty of feeling in the tackles and plenty of testing high bombs. Newtown won the penalties 9-4, but their kickers were off target, and we scored 3 tries to 2 to run out winners 15 points to 6. At the halfway point of the competition, we were on top of the ladder ahead of Manly on for and against, with St George, Canterbury and Cronulla rounding out the top 5. We started the second half of the competition against last place Penrith at the Sydney Sports Ground, and despite an unaccustomed mountain of possession, we struggled to put points on the board. It was one of those days when the passes went astray for both teams. The longer we let Penrith stay in the game, the more we were in danger of giving them a sniff of an upset. We had some close calls, but eventually our domination of the scrums wore Penrith down, and Greg Bandiera converted that possession into points. Minutes later, Mark Harris put Shuey over in the corner, and we were on our way to a 25-8 victory. Artie Beetson was still missing for our return match with the Tigers, who were on a roll winning their last 3 matches. This loomed as a real danger game, and it started badly for us.
Pringle's coming, beaming through after it. The ball goes forward off a Balmain player. That was a knock-on, but it's been kicked too far. No, it's not. If he gets to it, it's a try. He's awarded a try, but it was a dead-set knock-on back at the from the kick. I wish we could have a look at that one on the disc again and see. The try scorer was Fish. Let's have a look now and see if our disc picks up the knock-on action here. I think you'll find it came off Neil Pringle. Now it goes back. The kick's put high in the air. Watches the players from Balmain come into view. There's Schubert standing under it. There's Pringle. Watch Pringle's arms go up. Well, you couldn't quite see it on there. He went out of frame, but it was kicked again by Fish, who had the race then to get to the ball, and by gee, it was a close thing, only a yard or so inside the line. He goes right back into the corner there, and just off, well, there's the ground level shot, and you can take it from me that it was a fairly scored try, but not a fair try, because there was a knock-on. Coote fires that one out to Peard. Peard, a diagonal low trajectory kick, which is going back. Fish is racing for it, and he gets to it, but he can't get it on the... and it's a try. Yes, a try's been awarded. Fish dived for it, but couldn't get it under control. Another Balmain player, Pringle, was there. We'll watch it on the action replay. And this is a well-directed kick from Peard. He puts the Balmain defence under a lot of pressure. It's rolling free, getting towards the goal line. As you can see now, this is Fish, the nearest man, coming back for it. It skates off his body. Harris kicks it through.
Ian Schubert's try gave us a 4-point lead, but the Tigers closed within 2 to start a series of 4 close calls. Over the next 2 weeks, we scraped home 6-4 against Cronulla in a trialless contest dominated by stifling defence. The Sharks were the only side that held us trialless all season. Then Manly took us to the wire at the SCG. The Seagulls scored 2 tries to our 1, but John Brass and I used our rugby union experience to snap 2 late field goals to get us home on the back of another very defensive performance. The papers were starting to ask where our free-flowing attack had gone, and we were sure we would rediscover it inside the cycle track at Lidcombe Oval. But Wes had other ideas.
Half, almost in the middle of the field. That's out the western suburbs side. Rodonica straight down on it. Wellman, Dorahy, Murphy, Hayward, evades 2. Play about 4 metres from the quarter line. Day, Rodonicus, on to Levinskas. He's burst right through. Did well to hang on to that. Temptation to pass, but it would have been knocked down. Day. On to Murphy, out to Rodonicus, a long pass.
Despite West getting the only try, we ground away for another 1-point win. Even though we were on a 13-game win streak and led the comp by 6 points, our try drought was becoming a concern. With a big Sunday game against the third-place Dragons at the SCG, it was high time for the drought to break.
Beatson. Beautifully then onto Mackay. Mackay came in for some heavy work though. Walters, Beatson switches, goes on his own. Beatson's in for a try. Harris again. Harris has split the defence. He's up over halfway. Langland's in front of him. Langlands can't get to him. He's beaten. Langland's pointless. Mills comes across. Oh, and a great try. Another try by Eastern Suburbs, who could put the knock on this game right from this point. Beatson. Well, he did well to hold that. It went halfway down his leg. Oh, and he got the pass onto Fairfax, and Fairfax has scored. Beatson. Inside to Riley. Riley sprinting. Going strongly. Out of one tackle. Got a pass inside to Harris. And Harris goes round with the greatest of ease to score a simple try. Walters. Mays. Peared. Brass. Back to Mays. Onto Harris. Harris still going. Gets a pass away to Pickett. And Pickett's in for a try. Billy Smith feeds, and it's an Eastern Suburbs ball. Mays goes on his own round the side of the scrum. Albert kicks it high. Schubert takes it, loses it. It's a St George ball, and a St George try, and Goodwin's the scorer. Elected to take the tap, and here's this wedge move again. With Walters coming away with the ball at the end. Pickett's lost a shoe, and he's busily putting it on. The foreground. Mays. A pass on to Peard. Peard's over for the try. Mays. Peard. Brass. Quick hands to Harris. Harris got a pass away to Pickett. Pickett goes outside his man, inside, steps, goes again, got it to Fairfax, and Fairfax is through for a try. Mays. Onto Fairfax, and Fairfax is right through the middle. Got a pass to Schubert. Schubert juggles it beautifully, throws it back in field, but he thought in field, but it went back over his head and over the touchline.
Jack Gibson called this a beautiful win, probably with the ugly loss in the Weta Kogarah still on his mind. It was one of those games you think only comes along once a season, when you can do whatever you want and the opposition seems powerless to stop you.
And a loose ball. Mays runs. Play about 20 metres out now from the St George line. Hayes, Peard, Brass, throws the dummy. Got Schubert close to him. Schubert goes through the middle. Got a long pass out to Pickett. Pickett goes. He's going to go close. Got a pass inside to Brass. Brass has got it onto Walters. Walters onto Peard. Peard's tackled short of the line, but got it to Mays. And Mays is in for a try. A grouse try. A beautiful try. Rugby, beautiful. And that's brought the house down. That's literally brought the house down.
The signs that we could take back-to-back titles were there, and they got stronger when we met Canterbury at Belmore.
Stevens. Beatson to Mays. Mays through the gap. And he's in for a beautiful try. Mr Cook warning one of the Canterbury forwards on the run there. Beatson with a big dummy. Back inside to Fairfax. Fairfax onto Mays. And Beatson's done it again. As Riley sweeps it away to Beatson. Brass. Fairfax. Long torpedo punt out to Coote. Coote to Schubert. Schubert's got room to move. Comes back inside. Got a pass to Mays. Mays is in, I think. Yes, got it down one-handed. Riley. Peard. Beatson. Dummies. Through. Lobs the pass over the top. Schubert's flying. Mays the tackle. Goes, and it's a try.
Halfback Johnny Mays, 4 tries in a game on the 27th of July 1975, wasn't equalled by a Roosters player until Sean Kenny Dow grabbed 4 against the Brisbane Broncos 35 years later, almost to the day, on the 26th of July 2010. More importantly, we maintained our 6-point lead in the premiership race and were starting to look certain winners, but the season had a few twists and turns to take yet. South came to the sports ground hell-bent on exacting some revenge for their loss to us at Redfern, and coming off 8 straight losses, they knew they weren't going to get satisfaction from the scoreboard, so they went for the old-fashioned get square. Jack Gibson said later, the game was played without rules. He wouldn't let us retaliate, but the penalty South conceded helped us keep the scoreboard ticking over. Big Bob McCarthy was still a force for the Rabbitohs, and his determination set up their one moment to celebrate. The attempted high shots made it easier for John Peard and the other backs to find gaps and make big incursions into South's territory. Lightning reflexes saw John Brass snatch a try, and the rout was on as we sealed the club's 13th minor premiership with a 24-5 win. It was something to celebrate, but we wanted a repeat of the major title as well. Before we could get on with the premiership, we had a midweek Amco Cup semi-final match to play against Auckland at Leichhardt Oval. It was a Wednesday night I'll never forget for all the wrong reasons.
Riley, Mullins. Peard. Stacks on the mill over there, and Cook is going to put a scrum down.
Yeah, Mackay's had a big game, mate. He's been in a lot of action, and he was in that try that Coote scored, backing up Brass's little kick over.
Well, Mark Harris anxiously waving for attention here.
Mark Harris was anxiously waving for attention because he'd collided with my left leg and snapped it like a twig. As I lay there waiting for the stretcher, the leg hurt like hell. But what hurt more was the thought I'd missed the rest of the season. No chance of playing in the semis or the grand final if we got there, and no chance of representative honours. I was the current New South Wales fullback, with every chance of being selected for the World Series tour to England and France after the season. All gone in a freak collision. In what loomed as a desperately needed win for Parramatta as they clung to a faint semi-final chance, their coach Norm Provan summed up his team's attitude when they faced us at the sports ground. We've got nothing to lose and a lot to gain. Joining me on the sideline injured were Artie and Stumpy, but stand-in captain John Brass had a great game, scoring 14 points with 2 tries and 4 goals. Our old teammate Jim Porter, who had been a member of the 74 Premiership side, said we were special to take out this season's title. He told the press that in his opinion, we were a better side than last year. With players like Ian Mackay running through the Eels like an outside back, who could argue with Porter? Ian Schubert had started the season well and improved with every game. As the finals approached, he seemed to find another gear. We had the best centre pairing in club football. Mark Harris had the size of a front row forward with the speed of a winger, while John Brass was a dual international with the speed, skill and anticipation to capitalise on any chance. In the pack, we had workhorses like Buddy Riley and Dennis Tutty, who toiled to create chances for their thoroughbred backline. It was all on display against Parramatta, moving one journalist to a Cold War analogy. He wrote, "Playing East is like taking on the Russian army with water pistols." The only real problem we had all season was winning an even share of the ball from the scrums. If we couldn't win the scrums, we had to get the ball other ways.
Kicks the ball, it's a beautiful kick. Harris takes it on the full. Harris is up to the quarter line, but a very effective low diving tackle by Adams brings an end to that run. Mays, Coote, standing wide. North Sydney defenders up quickly. They'll have to watch the referee. Beatson waving the ball around in his arms, but he's tackled on the quarter line. Mackay, good defence. They'll have to keep back the 5. Their referee keeps glancing from side to side. He'll ping them. Coote standing wide, breaks one tackle, got a pass away to Schubert. And it's inside to Mullins, and Mullins is in for the try. By about 18 metres now out from the eastern suburbs line. Wood, McLaughlin switches out to Fiddler. Now you've got to admire eastern suburbs' efficient, well-marshalled defence. Fiddler plays it forward and goes. 10 metres out. Wood. Healy's dropped it. And this scrum goes down, another important one. Needs to win under a lot of pressure, but it's a North Sydney win. Wood goes through. He'll score! Well, the North Sydney players are back on their feet again, and we've all settled back into a more sedate frame of mind after the excitement. The kick. And from the restart, Eastern Suburbs get possession with Mays giving it to Coote. Out to Schubert, a beautiful pass to Beatson. Beatson then on to Stevens. Stevens gets it to Mullins. Big Bill Mullins there. Johnny Brass, a dummy half, but it's moving out along the line. Coote standing wide, got it to Schubert, who's having a superb game for the Eastern Suburbs side. Harris away to Pickett. McLaughlin's got him again. Oh, 2 great tackles by McLaughlin. 2 great tackles by McLaughlin. The Eastern Suburbs machine into top gear. They're throwing it from side to side. And Mullins is tackled again. Only inches short of the line by Walker. What a great bit of defence. Brass, Beatson going. Beatson got it to Mackay. Mackay got it on there to Des O'Reilly, and O'Reilly's in for the try. Pickett goes to dummy half, runs from that position, and play now only about 10 metres out from North Sydney's line. Mackay, very nearly through under the post. Pickett, who spent Mays is in. The restart, Schubert's the man that's tackled. Moscott involving himself in the play, that's number 25. He gets bowled over and he's got the ball with. Mays appeared, swivels, loses the ball, picked up by Brass. He got it away nicely to Beatson. Beatson to Harris. Harris has broken the defence, charging upfield like a wounded bull. McLaughlin. Oh, blimey, what a reserve fullback to have standing by for a side. Mackay runs from dummy half. Brass with a beautiful pass out to Peart. He's got Harris out there again. Harris has Rawlings limpet-like around his legs. Peart, Brass, that pass. Schubert, Coote, out to Mullins. Mullins goes streaming up the sideline. McLaughlin comes at him. He beats McLaughlin. He beats Hope. Got a pass inside to Mays, and Mays is under the post.
A Johnny Mays double took him to the top of the try-scoring ranks on 13 with just 1 round remaining, but just ahead of teammate Mark Harris and Manly fullback Graham Eadie, each on 12.
About 20 metres out, I think there were 2 tackles to go. Beats it. It should be... and it's a try, is it? No. That was a good ruling. The ball came off Hamilton, the North Sydney player, and regained by... There's Coote in for a try.
There was no fairy tale finish for underdogs Newtown in the final competition round, as East put on a show for their home fans at the sports ground. It was the 19th win in a row, creating a new record with 40 competition points, the most ever by a team in a single season. The 33-6 scoreline and 7 tries to 2 margin was a little more than a warm-up for the more important games that lie ahead. A Johnny Mays try kept him on top of the try-scoring list, but Mark Harris grabbed a double to join him on 14 for the season. With a week off before their first semi-final appearance, Jack Gibson told the team, "I don't want to see any of you until Thursday. You boys can have a rest from football for a few days. You've earned it." We watched the Dragons spring a surprise upset over Manly in the major preliminary semi-final, and despite our big win over them in round 17, the team knew beating St George in the major semi-final wouldn't be as easy.
Tartner moves in. He's got that nicely into the air. It looks straight. It is 2 from 2. St George lead 4 points to 0. Johnny May's athletic support was stretched out there about a yard onto Riley. Riley on the burst, back towards the halfway line. 5 minutes to half time. St George still with this 4-point lead. Beatson has his arms held. Mark Harris. John Peard. Back to Coote, then to Mays. He's through 1 tackle to the halfway line. They pick him up and pound him into the ground. And he Riley to dummy half, away to Brass, then to Beatson, back inside to Ron Coote. Coote sets himself to go, got it on to Mays. Mays with a long pass to Mullins. Mullins is going to score. A good try. First class effort set up by Johnny Brass about 30 metres out. Now watch the way Brass swivels and comes back behind here. Onto Arthur Beatson, who looks inside for Coote. Coote has Mays on the inside. Gets the pass to that player, who then sees Mullins unmarked and unloads it to him. He evades the tackles of Mills. Tartner came with a despairing dive, but it was still the high-stepping winger. John Brass, about 17 metres out. He's about 10 metres off centre. Breeze blowing across. It's a relatively easy kick, taking a lot of care over it. He's raised the flags, and Eastern Suburbs, just before half-time, have hit the front. Smith, the ball was kicked through, I thought, but the referee says no. Here's Schubert under pressure again. He's missed it. And who's got it? Langlands came up with it. Now watch it. Here's Langland streaming through. The ball evades Schubert, who's had the horrors in the last quarter of an hour. Came off an Eastern Suburbs player. It's dropped on the ground.
In a major upset, St George lowered our colours for the first time in 20 matches, but East had scored the only try. For us, this loss was nothing new. We'd been in the exact same situation last year when we were unexpectedly beaten by Canterbury in the major semi-final, but won through to the big one and turned the tables on the Berries. But first things first, we needed to take care of Manly, who'd beaten Parramatta to get to the final.
The kick-off taken well by Mackay, who's bumped and bounced and finally ridden to the ground by Randall. Bunny Riley runs from dummy half. Krilic appears to be wound around his body there, but Mackay goes to dummy half, away to Beatson, back to Mackay. Seen nothing of the Manly three-quarter line today. They've not been able to get the ball that far out along the line so that any of the Manly backs could show anything at all. The forwards have appeared mostly concerned with making forward progress, not necessarily looking for support on the few occasions that they've had the ball for any length of time. Pearce switching play to Schubert. Sixth tackle. One really has to think very hard to recollect any stage in the game in which Manly appeared to have the ball with any likelihood of doing anything with it. Mays to feed, second row, penalty to Manly. And the crowd give an ironic roar, and the penalty tally now is 12-4 in favour of Eastern Suburbs. Fulton jogging back into picture will probably take this kick for touch. 28 points to 7. Eastern Suburbs lead. Great kick. About 13 metres out from the Eastern Suburbs line. Now let's see what they can do. Willoughby's coming on the burst. He charges straight at the Eastern Suburbs forwards and they take him down about 9 metres out. Pilic, Journey, Randall switches the play to Fulton. Fulton's wrapped up quickly by Mays. There was no yardage gained in that move, let me tell you. They lost ground. Pilic, Journey, Darryl Pearce. Mark Harris still limping prodigiously out there. Joy dropped that onto his boot and kicked it, but it was unintentional as Schubert fielded it on the half volley. Quick thinking by Joy to turn and drop into a kick. It still would have been a knock-on if East hadn't regained possession. Beatson, Coote. Stood up on the tackle just inside Eastern Suburbs quarter. Mullins, the winger. I've mentioned earlier in the first half, both the Eastern Suburbs wingers have shown a great willingness to come and get involved in midfield play. Beatson. Nobody looking. A dummy half. Peard. Away to Coote. He's going to be tackled on the sixth tackle. And Eastern Suburbs are just going through the motions now. They've got this game wrapped up, sewn up, parcelled up, tied up every way they want it, and they're not going to run too many risks, I wouldn't think, of further injury. Manly ball. Fulton to Journey. Up to Thompson. Thompson's pass out to Brannigan is beautifully taken. He's got it away to Jackson. Jackson goes nicely, but taken well by Schubert. A good tackle by the young fullback. First time the Manly three-quarter line has functioned. Fulton. They've dropped it. Still a Manly ball. Willoughby times the pass well to Mooney. Mooney goes up the sideline. Coote comes to him and they tackle him into touch. I think Mooney expected to be cautioned then by the touch judge, or spoken to by the touch judge, and he got up and sort of made a placatory gesture. All right, scrum now. Eastern Suburbs ball. That didn't appear to go out of the scrum. It went in but rebounded off the side. Mullins driven down hard just to the quarter line. 28 points to 7. Eastern Suburbs lead. 4 tries and 8 goals to a try and 2 goals as the Eastern Suburbs tally. Mays with the quick hands to Coote. He rounds his man. Darryl Pearce, the lock forward. As O'Reilly took that bad pass behind him, but took it well. Sixth tackle. Eastern Suburbs tactics have been to take the tackle and not kick, but on this occasion they do. It goes for Jackson. He takes it nicely. The Eastern Suburbs defence enthusiastic as ever, with time running fair and square out for Manly. We're there to complete the tackle. 31,000 the crowd here today. Journey, Fulton, Brannigan. Brannigan gets a pass away to Thompson, nicely to Mooney. Des O'Reilly performs a great tackle and Mooney's into touch. And there's a penalty against O'Reilly for pulling Mooney into touch, so that penalty tally now is quite astronomical, really, when you look at it. 12-5 against Manly. Fulton elects to kick for touch, as indeed is one of the only two options open to him. No point in kicking for goal. Mooney. Willoughby takes it on the burst. No way through that Eastern Suburbs defence that close to the ruck. Prilich, Journey, Fulton. Back inside to Darryl Pearce, who makes some inroads. About 16 metres out. Prilich runs from dummy half. 28 points to 7. Eastern Suburbs doing it easy. Journey, Fulton, Brannigan, Thompson, Jackson. Dear oh dear, the pass was not a good one. It was down a bit low. He had to reach for it, but he took it. And Brannigan showing his displeasure and Jackson fumbling the ball. But that's been the sad story of the whole afternoon, really, for Manly. They've fumbled and stumbled and made themselves look anything but a first-grade side. Well, Bill Mullins is standing about 5 yards offside from that set scrum as Brannigan takes a pass inside from Fulton. And Manly now in a scoring position, only 7 metres out. Prilich runs from dummy half, 2 metres out. Brannigan to dummy half. Way to Journey, Fulton, Eadie, onto Thompson. A shocking pass. Mooney does well to take it on the bounce, but there again, another scoring opportunity. And the pass a horror. And Thompson bowled over there. No touch judges come in. Well, there have been 2 opportunities to score tries by Manly in the last 2 minutes, both of which have gone to naught by dint of bad passes. It's a Manly ball. Journey. Fulton there to Brannigan. Eadie's come into the line, but he doesn't get the ball. It goes to Thompson. Thompson runs partially round his man. Jinks comes back, gives it to Eadie on the outside. Eadie tries to make the break. Caught well by one leg by Sherbert. Trying to get free. Finally kicks Sherbert free. Jackson to dummy half. It's moved across to Journey, then to Fulton. Fulton steps. Got a pass to Brannigan. Brannigan's got it. Must be a try. Willoughby will score. That's a try. Good quick hands along the line. Willoughby the scorer. They had a 3-man overlap there too. Watch it as Jackson went to dummy half. Away to Thompson, then to Journey. Fulton makes inroads, steps, gives a pass to Brannigan, who did so well to take it. Got it nicely onto Darryl Pearce, and then to Willoughby. Willoughby had Mooney unmarked outside him and elected to go, and that was the right decision. He scored the try, wide out, bridges the gap ever so slightly, 28 points to 10.
25 minutes gone.
About 25 minutes gone on the second half. And well, that was a better try for Manly. At least that wasn't as a result of errors by the opposition. Yes, it looks like Mark Harris may be asking to leave the field, and we've got a replacement come on there, number 18. John Reinberger. As Mark Harris comes from the field, and John Reinberger is the player that was under consideration through the week. Harris limping from a tackle about 20 minutes ago when Alan Thompson dived and caught his ankle. $28 points to 10. Eastern Suburbs leading. Eadie with a difficult kick from the sideline, 5 metres in from the sideline as Harris receives applause. He's had a strong game without being outstanding. Eadie has not judged the win. It's blown away and the score remains 28 to 10. About 13 minutes perhaps remaining in this game, allowing for some caution time and some injury time. Peard restarts. It's into Manly's quarter, taken by Eadie, gives it to Mooney. And he'd taken, before he can make too much progress, he's just out to the quarter line. Joy tackled and pushed backwards there. Krilic runs from dummy half, hands off Coote. Is that Krilic? He lost it, whoever it was, and it's East. Yes, it was Krilic. He lost it to Elwyn Walters, and now Eastern Suburbs are in possession. Riley uses the blind side onto Beatson. Looks to get it inside, does so to Schubert. Schubert passes that one badly to Des O'Reilly, but he took it well on the bounce. Peard, Walters. Back slammed hard there by Randall. Mackay. The ball stolen by Manly and then lost again. It was Brannigan that took the ball away, but he dropped it. And Eastern Suburbs with 6 to go are on the move. Beatson. A nice pass onto Coote, who came so close to him then. By about 8 metres outside Manly's quarter. Beatson gets it off the edge of the ruck. Crowd thinned out considerably here on the popular side, the hillside. Mays. There's O'Reilly coming up with a fast 7-metre gain. O'Reilly then to Coote. It's been a curiously lacklustre game. Easts have looked good in patches, but Manly have looked pretty near nothing all day. Walters, Mays, good pass out there to Reinberger, who gets it away to Pickett. Pickett goes up the sideline. He's well tackled, but evades the tackle. Gets to his feet, finally put down by Eadie. Eadie falls over the top of him. Last tackle, Stevens. Long floater out to Mackay. Mackay elects to kick. It's going to be taken by Mooney. Mooney evades one tackle, that of Schubert. Tackle 10 metres from his line. Manly player injured and lying off the side of the field over right across there. Could be Terry Randall, I think. On to Mark Willoughby. Willoughby has tried hard all day without being able to make much of an inroad into Eastern Suburbs defence. Dempsey Joy. Well, really, this sort of football from Manly is not doing anything for them. The only possible out at the moment, not that they can get out of the game, is to move the ball fast and back up. Brannigan back inside to Fulton. Touch football. Brannigan snaps it up. There seemed to nobody wanted to run with the ball. Randall jogs slowly back into the top left-hand corner of your picture. He was down receiving attention from his trainer. Comes to the scrum. 31,645. The crowd have watched a game that has never risen to any heights. Penalty against Eastern Suburbs for collapsing the scrum. Elwyn Walters with a loose arm. Fulton the kick for touch. That's a good touch finder in, or with the wind conditions it should be too. Plenty of breeze at his back. On to Dempsey Joy, who takes the ball up to Eastern Suburbs quarter line, knocks Bunny Riley backwards a few yards. Krilic goes to dummy half. He runs the blind side. He's going to be pushed into touch. Dear oh dear. If I sound slightly exasperated, I am. I can't stand to see first-grade footballers of any club make elementary mistakes. Manly scrum win. So Krilic has rectified the error slightly. Fulton Nice pass to Eddie, out to Jackson. Jackson drops it. No need to be dumped there by Pickett because the pass went to ground. I think Manly have probably kept the ball for the full 6 tackles on one occasion in this match. I can't recollect any other occasions they've kept it for any length of time. The last 30 minutes or so, it's been really Manly getting the ball and losing it after 1 or 2 tackles. Now then, it's an Eastern Suburbs ball. 9-5, the scrum's in Manly's favour. Pickett comes infield. Well, a Manly player, Harvey, is reeled away from that ruck with his leg seemingly giving him some trouble as Coote gets up, pushes Harvey away. Mays almost to the halfway line. It's Mark Willoughby receiving treatment there. Schubert back inside. It goes to Beetson. Beetson got it on to Pickett. Pickett up the sideline. Harvey is the injured player. It was Willoughby that performed that tackle. Beetson goes up the sideline. He's then on to Des O'Reilly, who's played a pretty strong game since he came on as a replacement. John Harvey, the man down injured. Well, the crowd thinned out by many, many, many thousands. Not a good advertisement for rugby league, this one. Although little blame or no blame can be attributed to Eastern Suburbs. They've won it and won it well. Manly scrum win. Journey runs diagonally, can't make any progress. Fulton, way to Edie. Edie comes up and makes 10 metres. We haven't seen too much of Edie today. He did receive a knock on the shoulder early, which slowed him down a bit. Krilich, Journey, Fulton. And he's driven backwards. Well, Eastern Suburbs and St George will unquestionably be the Dempsey Joy over the sideline. Will unquestionably be the grand finalists next week, and Eastern Suburbs have been beaten by St George twice this year, once in the first round and once in the major semi-final. Very lacklustre game from Manly's point of view. They've won this scrum. Journey tackled in possession. Fulton waves his men away. On to Terry Randall. Taken head on there. 28 points to 10. Time run right out for Manly. Could be a couple of minutes to go. We're not just sure with the clock being stopped and how much time the referee allows for the various functions he's had to perform in the way of cautions and or injury stoppages. So another Manly player is off. Harvey is off. The replacement is off. And I didn't hear who the...
20, Steve Simons, please.
Steve Simons comes on. He's the reserve grade halfback. Schubert. Pickett runs from dummy half. And really, it will be a mercy when this game concludes, because Eastern Suburbs have done their work. They're quite happy to stick with the lead they've got. They're not trying too much. Manly are patently incapable of doing anything about the lead. And their work has been very slipshod. As a result, the game as a spectacle is suffering. Peard elects to kick on that occasion. It goes high in the air. Simons is underneath it, takes it well. and very nearly makes the break. Tackled about 15 metres out from the Eastern Suburbs quarter line. Fulton, Thompson, Brannigan gets half round his man, tackled around the ankles by Reinberger. Randall. Little method in Manly's tactics. Simons, the replacement, is limping too. That's really... Oh, Fulton dumped, picked up, but very quickly to his feet and plays it. It was Coote that dumped him, and Coote gave him a pat on the back. Sixth tackle. Fulton kicks it, goes high in the air. 6 to go, says the referee. Touched an Eastern Suburbs player, and Manly players are absolutely bone weary at the moment. They can't raise a gallop to get into position to run onto the ball. That was kicked through, says the referee. In the play of the ball, so Krilic elects to run. That's all any Manly player has done today, is to run one out. There's been a little bit of this chain passing across the field, but nobody really backing up. Joy, Edie. Randall on the blind side out to Jackson. Jackson takes it. And that's 3 tackles that Manly have kept the ball for on this occasion. Randall, Simons, Darryl Pearce on a journey. Brannigan. Could be another try. Thompson on to Mooney. Mooney throws the dummy and goes in for the try. Well, Eastern Suburbs look just as bad as Manly does. You know, it's a terrible thing to be critical of. Mullins was going for an intercept there, which is patently he shouldn't have been doing. But that was a very slack bit of defence by Eastern Suburbs to allow Manly back into the game. Well, not back into the game, but to allow them to score the try. So Mooney receives treatment. Edie jogs back with the kick. 28 points to 13. That score doesn't really reflect the difference between the two sides. Mooney limping back towards halfway as Edie moves.
East were in the grand final for the 2nd year in a row. I would have loved to have been out there with them, but that was not to be. In an ironic twist, I was joined in the grandstand by Mark Harris, who'd broken his leg in the final. To replace him, Jack Gibson plucked unknown lower grade centre John Reinberger out of obscurity and named him to play on rugby league's biggest stage in one of the biggest surprise selections in grand final history.